Hello, future teacher. Welcome. In this video, we are going to talk about philosophy of education and its definition, one of the topics for our PED 9 course or the teaching profession. Let's start with the definition of philosophy. Okay, so philosophy comes from the Greek word philosophia, meaning the love of wisdom, and it is actually a study of knowledge and metacognition. What is the difference between wisdom and knowledge? Okay, so wisdom in simpler terms is that it is brought about by our experiences in life. It's brought about by introspection, series of reflecting, so on and so forth. Metacognition, like we learn how we learn. We try to assess how we learn, how we deal with things, what is the right or wrong, and wherein um on the other hand, knowledge is just about knowing everything, like memorizing, like reading a book, and you gain new knowledge, you gain new learning. Okay, so again, philosophy is the love of wisdom. Wisdom is much more deeper than knowledge, because wisdom talks about the deeper meaning of life, how you deal with things as a person, how you deal with the things that you experience in your life. Okay, so again, philosophy comes from the Greek word philosophia, meaning the love of wisdom. Next, philosophy is also about how one live. Okay, like knowing what is right and wrong, just like what I've told you earlier about, yeah, right or wrong, or what we call ethics. So a person with an ethical value is actually can be actually measured, while like what he or she does whenever someone is not around. Okay, that's how we know what is that kind of person is. Okay, so yeah, again, that's how we measure an ethical person. So ethics is about right and wrong. Next is metaphysics. Okay, metaphysics are the things that exist and its nature. And also philosophy is about genuine knowledge or epistemology, or what are the origin of things, or how do we know where do things come from. So again, genuine knowledge. And lastly is the logic or the principles of reasoning. So again, philosophy could be about ethics, metaphysics, epistemology, or logic. Next is that the conceptions of philosophy. Actually, there are three conceptions of philosophy, or three types of philosophy. So, philosophy as wisdom, philosophy as ideology, and philosophy as critical inquiry. Let's talk first about philosophy as wisdom. So, wisdom, again, is based on personal accounts or experiences. Let's say, for example, a person has this wisdom. He or she keeps on saying that always expect the unexpected. Why does a person say that always expect the unexpected? Maybe because he or she have experienced something before, something unexpected before, that have brought a sudden change in his or her life. Okay, so again, that is how we could classify philosophy as wisdom, based on personal accounts or experiences. Next, philosophy as ideology, ideals. Okay, so this is the individual insights and understanding, and this understanding or insights could be used to justify policies and procedures. Let's say, for example, our country, we are a democratic country. This is the ideology that has been like kumbaga, injected to our minds, that we are definitely a democratic country. So what are those ideals, or what are the things that we need to observe for, so that we can maintain this being a democratic country? So we have the freedom of speech, we have the suffrage to vote, we have the rights to suffrage, or the, the freedom to vote, or the right to vote, so on and so forth. So since we have the ideology of being a democratic country. So our policies and procedures that we adhere to in our country is really based on the ideology of democracy. Okay, I hope I am making myself clear. So the third concept or conception of philosophy is that philosophy as a critical inquiry. And when we say critical inquiry, this could go along with series of questioning, and this could actually, one's belief could actually be changed after lots of like consideration, lots of searching, researching, like discussion with other people, debates. Again, one's opinion, a person's opinion could be changed, a person's philosophy in life could be changed because this exists. We have this conception that philosophy as a critical inquiry. So individuals are given the option to follow certain procedures that do not impede or create the unbiased results. Again, this could be one's philosophy could be changed. It is changeable. One's opinion could be changed. It depends on the series of questioning or series of debates or series of discussions that he or she undergoes. As long as, of course, yung parang hindi, his philosophy in life could be changed as long as parang hindi natatapakan yung kanyang mga pansariling, like, beliefs, so on and so forth. Again, we always make sure that we create an unbiased result. So, let me repeat the three conceptions of philosophies: the philosophy of wisdom, philosophy as ideology, and lastly is the philosophy as critical inquiry. So now, since we are already talking about philosophy, we may ask, what is the relationship of philosophy to education? What is the relationship of philosophy to us as future teachers? So let us answer, how is philosophy connected with education? So, philosophy to education. Okay, philosophy as critical inquiry allows an educator to come up with more logical decisions and choices. Why? Because in critical inquiry, we ask questions, right? We ask questions, is this really the right thing to do? You research, right? After you research, you have found out that, oh, there is much better solution to this problem. So we will be able to come up with more logical decisions and choices in terms of implementing education, implementing instructional strategies inside our classroom. So again, philosophy allows us as future teachers to come up with logical decisions and choices in terms of implementing learning inside our classroom and to our students. Next one, for an educator to come up with a better decision, let me just transfer my face again. For an educator to come up with a better decision, he or she must first select fairly from available options to strengthen practice. Here we are observing critical inquiry, right? So while we are researching, it is not enough that we find one solution. We should find at least two to three solutions and then we choose the best solution. We should select fairly from the available options. Okay? And that way, we will be able to address the needs, the problems that arise in our future classrooms. Okay? So, next is that as teachers, as educators, we must ensure that selection of ideas is practical and impartial. Let's say, for example, practical. Okay, your inside your classroom, you will be torn between using traditional instructional materials or the more advanced instructional materials. Which is more practical when you are assigned in a far-flung area? Which is more practical? Are you going to use the traditional or are you going to use the more advanced technological instructional material? So you make use of you have to consider that one. You need to be practical. Next, impartial or unbiased. Not just because that let's say for example, you are torn between using the book published by a well-known author or a book published by your friend. Okay, so you both, you know both persons. The first author is that this author is well known for having for giving you um, substantial information that you need in terms of delivering your lesson. Well, the other author is your friend, so you want to support him or her. Let's say, yeah, you just want to support him or her, that you want to show to the world that you are proud that you are using the book that your friend have written. And so, what will be your decision? Okay? You need to be practical, you need to be impartial. What's the best to use for your students? Are you going to use the more like, mas how na siya, mas sufficient yung content, or your relationship, your friendship? Which are you going to choose? Of course, you are going to choose the first option. Okay? Our decisions should be practical and impartial. The first thing that we need to consider is, of course, the interest of our learners. That's the most important role as future educators. And lastly, we need to in order for us to have a better decision making, is that we need to select techniques that are practical and fair to address problems in schools. Again, we are using, once again, the word practical, and this time, and fair. And this time, we are not just dealing with our students, but the school as a community. Okay, so we are not just thinking about the problem of one student. We are thinking about the problem, how to address the problem of our whole school community. So, of course, ano nga ulit yung term na ginagamit dito? The term utilitarianism. When you decide, again, utilitarianism. When you decide, you are thinking about the good for all. Okay, you are going to do a thing that will be beneficial for the more people, for the majority of the people, for the majority of the community. So again, these are the things that we need to consider in order to come up with a better decision. Select fairly from available options to strengthen practice. Ensure that selection of ideas is practical and impartial. And select techniques that are practical and fair to address problems in school. Okay, and this one, how is philosophy connected with education? So, additional information. So, philosophy defines the end of life and offers guidance and supervision for education to accomplish the goal. So, madaling sabi, philosophy is our guide. Philosophy serves as the guide on how we um, build the foundation of our education here in the world, and here in the Philippines, and also our own personal belief towards education. So, through the help of several philosophers, the success in our education sector is achieved. Because sila yung nauna, sila yung nakakita kung ano yung mas magandang gawin sa ating education sector. And so with their ideas, with the solutions that they have proposed before, so we are going to learn from them and we are going to apply that today. Okay? So thanks to our philosophers. Next, philosophy influences all aspects of education and will continue to influence educational practices. Again, when we think of utilitarianism, and later on when we learn about the different philosophies of education, those philosophies do not just exist before. It will exist today, and it will continue to exist tomorrow, because again, they are our foundation in establishing education here in every part of the world. And who are those, or who should we give credit to? Who are those philosophers? Okay, the philosophers Plato, Confucius, Socrates, John Locke, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Jean Dewey. So yeah, they have contributed a lot to education. They have contributed about they have talked about hands-on learning, that learning, that a child have absorbent mind, so on and so forth. So those ideas will become our basis in planning our educational instructions. So this is how philosophy is connected with education. So thank you so much, and I hope you learned